Youth unemployment is surging. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I'd like to have a look at this article from ABC News a few days ago discussing, well, youth unemployment rate. So New South Wales unemployment rate is 6.7%, and that aligns with, well, the general unemployment rate in the nation of 6.8. If you look at the Roy Morgan data, it's about double that. They use a different methodology. I tend to prefer it, but nevertheless, we'll just stick with this for now. What's more important is the fact that you've got a youth unemployment rate that's going to be a lot higher. Now, I put the question to you, is this one sign of a K-shaped recovery that we're going to see? Certain aspects of the economy doing better while others left behind. Will that increase the disparity between the wealth disparity across our nation? But in parts of Sydney, it's a very different story for young people. Geraldine and Sumana has been looking for work since the start of this year. The 19-year-old from Fairfield in Sydney Southwest hears the same things a lot. We're going to get back to you. One place called me and said, you've got a job, you need to have steel-cap boots, she said. I've got my boots, and they never called me back. It's quite difficult because you're having hopes like, finally, I've got a job, I'm going to start working, and then they say, we're going to get back to you, she said. Well, businesses are afraid to take on people, guys. This is where I've said before. It needs to be easier to get rid of people. It needs to be less risk to take someone on. That's the problem. You put all these interventions in the market in place, all these rules about unfair dismissal, it's just more burden and red tape. It disincentivizes business from taking people on. It incentivizes them to offshore and to automate. That's the reality, guys. I know your fee-fees may get hurt because you may have encountered some bad people in employment, but that's just life. This is the price that we pay. Sure, those rules may be fair, they may be good, but this is the price we pay everyone. It's going to disincentivize people from taking someone on, particularly if you're young and need to be trained up. You may be useless. You may have the wrong attitude. It costs money to get someone being useful, even when they graduate. That's a harsh reality for some people to realize. So she's not alone. According to the ABS, the youth unemployment rate in Sydney Southwest is 20.7%. Last week, the ABS said New South Wales unemployment rate dropped to 6.7%, but the number of young people looking for work in West Sydney tells a different story. I mean, this is going to be tough. You could have people scarred from never even getting into the economy. I mean, what was your first ever job? What was your first job? My first job was while I was at high school. I think I just turned 15 or 14, I think. It was at Woolies. Surfers Paradise Woolies, a checkout operator or service cashier. And that was quite a good job. Sure, the pay was I was a kid. I was frustrated that people older than me were paid more just because they were older, doing the exact same work. That annoyed me a little bit. But, it was a good job. You got to talk to a lot of people. You had a lot of tourists coming through, so it was quite entertaining. It was boring as anything, too, and I'd count down the minutes. But, that was my first job. I did that for quite some time, a few years. The data showed youth unemployment in Parramatta, 15.8%. Blackdown, 15.4%. The outer West Blue Mountains, 13.6%. So less youth unemployment in the Blue Mountains. So it's a growing problem exacerbated by Australia's pandemic-driven recession. So 1 in 5 young people is unemployed in some parts of Western Sydney. And this is going to lead to social issues. Here we have, there you go. Look at the unemployment from October to now. So it's gone down from October 2009. Central Coast, look at that. That's terrible. It's improved. Everything's improved except for inner Sydney and South, Northern Beaches, outer Western Blue Mountains. So they've all gotten worse. They've gotten better. They've gotten better. They've gotten better. So not too bad, but still high. It's going to get worse, though, if the economy keeps going the way it is. One of the things that happens in a recession is the youth unemployment rate rises very significantly and very quickly, and then it stays up for a very long period, said Rajan Janunka, a professor of economics at the University of New South Wales. And I will bring up some data here to show you, everyone. Let me just find that. Here, we'll look at trading economics because it's one thing that I've been referring to for a few videos. We'll look at the indicators for Australia, and this is the not the unemployment rate, the employment rate, the rate of people that are employed. Where do we have it here? We got labour. So we have the employment rate. We can see here, we'll go to max data. This is the recession that Australia had to have. It took about a decade for us to hit that employment level again. This is the GFC. Remember 2008? That hardly affected Australia, or we avoided recession, but our employment rate tumbled. And look how long it took us to get back to that level. About a decade again. So will it take us a decade to get back to this employment rate that we're currently at? That we're just at the peak of GFC levels. You tell me. So he said there were also long-term issues that come with long periods of youth unemployment. It's important to remember that for young people who become long-term unemployed, this is unemployed usually for more than 12 months. It makes it even more difficult for them to find a job, he said. Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a nightmare. I mean, if you've ever hired someone for their first job, what you're looking at, because you kind of assume they're going to be useless and you have to train them up. And we've done this. We've done it several times. Several times we gave people their first job in the architectural industry and we trained them up. It took us a good 6 to 12 months to get them good before you can actually start making some money off them. And then it's frustrating because, 2 years later, they've got all this experience and they go and triple their pay, which is fantastic. And it's encouraging to see that, that people are moving on to good things. But you're looking at their previous jobs to see how they've gone, what initiative they've had, if they've got a work ethic. I got to the point where I was asking for their family history just to try and ascertain the ideological position with regard to work in their household, because that's a good measure of if they're going to be lazy or if they're going to put extra effort in. Maybe you can't even do that, but it was effective. So he said the period of unemployment leaves young people without work experience and a stigma that they might have a bad work ethic. Tom Lenthan lives in the Blue Mountains and wants to be a teacher, but he also wants to take a gap year to bolster his finances before further study. He's experiencing to be stressed out expecting to be stressed out for the next 6 months. A lot of stress because of exams, but a lot more stress because there's not a lot of work, and my family's economic situation is quite dire, he said. He had found a job at a cafe early this year, but was let go when the pandemic hit. It was really demoralizing, especially in the first couple of weeks of being hired, he said. That's the sad truth, mate. Try and get a job stacking shelves, that pays well. Professor Junanka said it was a common experience. A lot of employers work on the basis of last in, first out, he said, which means young people are usually the newest employees in the labour market, so they're the first ones to get dropped out. Employers can be quite fussy during a recession because they have quite a lot of people who are looking for kinds of jobs that these young people are looking for. Liam Sherman wants to be a mechanic, but keeps getting knocked back for work. The next 6 months are going to be tough, the 21-year-old said. I go home and I'm just like, what's the point? I used to be so upbeat about work, it's really hard and tough. He grew up in Padstow and has a message for potential employers. We're here, we're ready, please help us out. The thing is, mate, the employers may not have to work for you because the government has just restricted the economy, everyone. Consumer confidence has been dashed. People are scared and worried. They're saving like they've never saved before. So this is the concern, guys, of youth unemployment being a big issue. And while they're focusing on Sydney, I can see it happening in all parts of Australia. What do you all think, everyone? Do you remember the last recession? If we look back here, I was too young in 92. I remember the recession. This is when we moved to Queensland, when my father's construction business in Victoria just slowed down. So we decided to move up here to Queensland because I grew up in Victoria, guys. Don't hold it against me. Now I'm glad I left as a kid. We moved up. I think we stayed on the sunny coast and then settled down on the Gold Coast. And, I wound up in Brisbane because it's a real city, not like the Gold Coast. But here's the thing, guys. I remember that recession, having an impact on the family's business, but I wasn't trying to enter the job market there. I was still much too young. I was, grade 4 or 5. Now, it's going to be tough for young people if this is just the beginning of another decline. I had another mate who was just entering just leaving high school at that time, and he said it was really tough to find any work, to get any opportunities. Do you remember it back then, guys? Were you just leaving high school? Were you just going for a job and just found it as a nightmare? What hints and tips would you give to the young people in this article? I'd say you need to network. Network for one. Get out there, meet people, network. You need to create your own opportunities. Try and build your own portfolio of skills. I mean, it's hard in a cafe job, but in a mechanic, he should be, doing his own work, training himself to do stuff, document it, create a portfolio. I think outside the box. Try and do something to stand out from the others, because you're going to have to. Don't see it as just wasted time. See it as opportunity to learn and to self-learn and to self-direct. But I can see it's going to be tough. But there are more opportunities to do that than in the past. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please leave your hints and tips for anyone who's watching who may be in this position. But if you're a fan of the channel and want to support the content I create, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye for now.